Hello and welcome to That British Homestead. My name's Nick, and today we're going to be talking about hard work and how we go ahead and dig deep for, the summer harvest. I have to say, this year compared to all other years, I'm not getting that much of a harvest when it comes to tomatoes, which are my favorite. However, the fruit that I'm getting, oh my days, I just got two punnets of berries coming in. Oh my days, I don't think I've ever had this many berries. I'm like getting them like crazy. And obviously, I've got to do something with them. So I've got three punnets at the moment in the fridge. And I'm going to probably tonight or tomorrow, I'm probably going to be making them into jam. And it's all about hard work and trying to make sure that you have everything you need so that you can go ahead and do that. And honestly, it can be really hot, especially and tiring and etc. Especially in the summer when you're trying to get everything in and you're trying to get everything done, and it is absolutely boiling out. I remember last year where I had my canner going completely, and it was felt like a million degrees. And my kitchen is like such a sun trap. It's one of those kitchens with it's nice because I've got windows all the way around the kitchen. So it's like a conservatory basically. So I can see right down the garden, which is beautiful. It's lovely, especially when you're working hard in the kitchen. I like watching the ducks and things like that. But it also means because I've got a south facing garden. So the sun beats into that room so that when I go ahead and cook something in the summer, it's absolutely roasting. So this year I was like, oh, I'm not looking forward to that. You know what I mean? I was thinking, right, I could do more cooking at night time so that it's less hot, etc. But at the moment it's been absolutely fine. So I'm going to go ahead and make some jam probably in the afternoon tomorrow. I'm going to go over the allotment because I went over the allotment today and I was like, right, let's make a video. I haven't made a video in what feels like forever. So I was like, right, I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I go and grab my camera, and my camera's brilliant. It's all fully charged. It's like life is good. Set it up and everything. And I've forgotten the tripod. I was like, oh no. And I forgot the memory card. So I couldn't do anything. I mean, how silly is that? So I went ahead and did that. And I brought it home and I'm like, right, I'm gonna get up really early in the morning. I'm gonna go over the allotment, shoot a video so that I have that for Monday. So I like to have them done in advance, but obviously at the moment I'm like lastminute.com and I haven't been uploading as frequently on the basis that it was my daughter's birthday on the 3rd. So obviously that took precedence, and we made a cake and we did a huge celebration, went to the zoo, etc. So yeah, that kind of took precedence over anything else. So I feel like I haven't been down the allotment and I haven't been uploading as much as I normally do. Which is sad because I really love uploading and seeing you guys and getting loads of comments and stuff like that. And you guys help me so much, I have to say. But it is nice that we're getting so many berries. And I'm still getting some tomatoes. I know that the last time I spoke to you on my live, I was talking about blight, which is still a issue down the allotment. But I'm still getting cherry tomatoes, which I didn't actually expect. And I got an absolute stunning tomato. It's like a plum tomato, and it is red with stripes. And I think it's just a strange tomato. I don't think I planted one that looked like that. So I think it was just like a genetic abnormality. So I'm going to go ahead and save seeds from that tomato because it's stunning. And hopefully next year I'll be able to grow a similar variety. You are meant to close pollinate tomatoes. So for example, if you have a tomato that you want to save seeds from, you go ahead and you net it. So I use jewelry little tabs, where you get jewelry and you get the little baggie with them. So I go ahead and put them in that around the flowers so then bees can't, go ahead and mess with it and cross pollinate it and stuff like that. And then you go ahead and tap it and the pollen will mix from just that flower, and then I save seeds that way. I've done a video on saving seeds from tomatoes. It's not very complicated. You have to ferment them though to get the gel off of them. But I think I'm going to go ahead and do that with that variety because they are stunning. They're like really pretty varieties with the stripes on them. And I don't know if they taste nice yet because I haven't tried one, but at least we have some tomatoes coming in, even if they're just cherries. I do have some bigger tomatoes on there, but I don't really know if they're gonna be able to ripen anytime soon. I've pulled a load of tomato plants up as well because of the blight, and it is spreading through the patch. Some of them are more resistant, and that just shows you, doesn't it? Always go with loads of different varieties of everything, because then, like, for example, the green zebras are super affected by the blight, whereas like other ones, not even phased by it yet. Obviously, resistance doesn't mean that you don't get it. I was reading on Facebook the other day where people were saying, "Oh no, my blight resistant tomato, I think it's called uh, Crimson Crush, has got blight." And people were saying like, "Oh, that's terrible. It's not meant to have blight." And it's more like, no, it's more resistant to it. Like, for example, if I've had many colds and I've really eaten well, I'm resistant from getting a cold, right? Does that mean I won't get a cold? Of course I can. But it means that because I've eaten loads of vitamins and minerals, I'm less likely to get it than the average Joe that hasn't done, if that makes sense. So that's how I see it anyway. Pumpkins are doing amazing this year. I swear to goodness, I went down there today and the pumpkins, every time I go down there, even if it's only been a day, they like double in size. They're huge, which is really good because we're kind of a bit rubbish at growing pumpkins, and it's like, honestly, they're like the biggest pumpkins that I've ever grown, and it's only August, so they're going to grow massive by September. I'm just hoping that nothing happens to them, but we'll see. I have about 3 of them at the moment, which is like what we want. So I might even like go for a fourth. One of them is the giant pumpkins, which I've had absolutely terrible time growing, and they're growing amazingly this time, which is really strange, isn't it? And all I've got it in is horse manure. And on top of the horse manure, I put wood chips, like sort of get rid of the weeds a little bit, which has worked beautifully. Um, and I have to say that it has like absolutely worked effectively. But on the other side of the allotment, which I can't understand because it was the complete opposite last time. So last year, my first allotment grew terrible pumpkins, terrible, I don't know what they called, cucumbers, and now it's flip flopped the other way. Whereas this one, it just feels really slow on the sweet, what they called, the winter squashes. But who knows, right? It could be that they're slowly going. I do have like 2 or 3 winter squashes that are going, which is, I need them because we have a tradition, me and my mum. She comes over in the like Octobery sort of time, and she comes over and we make soup together, and we've done this for years. But obviously I need something to make into soup, and we normally make butternut squash soup because me and her are the only ones who eat it, and we make it, and it's lovely. We roast it all up, and we make a day of it, which sounds really silly, but this is what we do when we hang out together. And it would be really sad if I don't get them. It does look like I'm having one butternut squash, and I got one butternut squash last year, so that's like 100% success, right? But I'm also doing tons of other squashes that hopefully they're doing well. The spaghetti squash has already got a little squashy on it, which is pretty decent, about that big. I actually don't like them much bigger than that, on the basis that, like, I'm the only one who eats the squash, and if they're like huge, that's like a commitment, isn't it? It's like a melon. I always feel like I'm like committing to something when I'm opening a melon, but on the basis that that one person can't eat it all. Which reminds me, my melon plants look amazing. I am getting some blossom end rots from the melon. I'm not 100% sure why I'm getting that. So if you know, let me know, because I'm not 100% sure why I'm getting the blossom end rot when it comes to the melon. I'm watering them. Well, I mean, it's been raining every day. It's like April showers out there. It was not even meant to rain today, and it rained. So over the allotment, like, you weren't meant to rain, and it was like just absolutely hammering it down on me. And yesterday it rained all day, so it is just is what it is. Good morning. How are you? I hope you're well. How is your garden going? But yeah, I'm hoping that it goes well. Can you imagine if I get a melon? This is such like you don't get melons in this country. I'd be so excited if I did. I've grown a grand total of I can't remember if it was 4 or 6 melons in my entire life. And they were really small and they were like this big, but they taste like apples. Not too sure why. And I ended up making them into applesauce and eating them as applesauce. It was really yummy. So it would be very exciting if I could even like to produce one good sized melon. That'd be really, really cool. But yeah, we'll have to see about that. I do have a couple of carrots germinating, which is exciting. And this week, I do need to put in my what they called marshmallows, which are a plant. Obviously called marshmallow, and the roots well used to be made into marshmallows as we eat and love, and they were a medicinal herb that helped like sore throats and stuff like that. So I'm going to go ahead and put those in 3 years to a harvest. So hopefully we'll have a decent harvest. Goes with my wonderful licorice as well. It's growing lovely. Windy lately beats everything up lately. Yes, I know what you mean. We've had quite a few winds and a lot of rain, and rain's never good when it comes to the summer garden because of blight. So we've got a lot of blight over this side of the water, which is never a good sign, is it? So we've lost quite a few tomato plants, but everything else seems to be like really thriving. My chard is taking over, so I do need to go down and harvest that again. I like make mental lists. I don't know if you do this, but like in my head, there's like a list of everything I need to do, and when I walk around, I'm like, right, I need to harvest this, I need to prune this, I need to do that. And I never write it down. It's just all up here, all up here. So I'm probably going to go and I'm going to absolutely smash it tomorrow because my big plan or my evil scheme tomorrow is spend the whole day down the allotment, which is great. And I will be harvesting, pruning, weeding, loads of weeding, and making sure everything is there and sorted for the week, basically, where I can just go over and harvest. I do need to harvest some of my potatoes. I'm actually quite nervous that the potatoes will get blight as well. So I want to go in and remove those so I don't have to worry about them, basically. Goodness knows what I'm going to be putting in the place of those potato beds. I've got loads of little seedlings, so I kind of like I don't really plan things. So I just like wander down there and I'll have a tray full of seedlings and I'll just be like, poof, put them anywhere. So I know one bed I will be putting my marshmallows in. So I'll have those in due course, 3 years. And then I'll have a harvest, which will be exciting. My husband gets irritated because I don't write things down. I think my one would as well. It's like all up here. And whenever we go to the allotment, I'm like, don't do that. There's a list of priorities. Where is it? It's in here. Like, I know what I'm doing, you know? I'll never forget my partner, bless him. He wanted to help me one day weed the front garden. So we have the two allotments. You know, we also do the front garden and the back garden. And then we were out there and he did a lovely job weeding. And then I like kind of I don't know what I was doing, but I turned around, I was like, where's the rhubarb? And he was like, what's a rhubarb? And I was like, oh, and he spent ages digging out my rhubarb and killing it. And he killed it completely. I was just like, I told you to pull the weeds, not the rhubarb. Bless him. Um, I have planted carrots, turnips, and spinach. Oh, I'm going to be spinaching it up. I'm going to be planting spinach soon. I'm really excited about spinach. We eat quite a lot of spinach. We've also done the perennial spinach, which is a chard. Love it. Turnips, something I'm going to be trying again. I'm going to like them. If not, I'm just going to make them into crisps. Carrots, love them. What variety of carrots are you sowing? I've had such a terrible time with carrots. I've had a few produce, but like there's not really very many that you can plant this time of year. So I'm kind of like easing off of carrots a little bit, but I might go on a little wild carrot hunt to find some more carrots to plant. Why not? Why not? It's always worth a little risk, isn't it? My parsnips are doing so well this year. It's ridiculous because normally I can't grow parsnips, and now I've got a parsnip jungle out the front. Roast root crops. Norris is the name of the carrot. When can you sow? Oh, that depends on your area, obviously, because you're probably in a different zone to me. I wonder if you can sow any carrots this time of year. You so Do you know what I was thinking earlier? I was like, I always Google things when I'm on live. It's because this is how I go for like arguments and stuff. Not arguments, but when we're discussing things, we're like, that didn't happen. I'm like, I'm Googling it, I'm Googling it. Oh, apparently there are some that you can do until late August. I'm going to find some and I'll be planting them over the allotment again and see if I get out any. I'll probably have thousands of carrots come up. Doubt it. I doubt it. One of my patches has come up with carrots. It's a really good time to grow carrots because it's really wet. So surely that means that it would be really good. I wish we could send pictures. I know, right? Don't you think like it would be really cool? You know, like on the what's it called? The I can't remember what it's called. The not companionship page, but you know the one where I can post pictures. How cool would it be if you could respond with pictures? Community, that's the one it's called. How cool would it be if you could respond with pictures as well? That'd be really cool because then you'd be like, oh my god, Nick, I did that too. And you boom, picture of your harvest. That would be cool. That would be really, really cool. Bit like Instagram. No, yeah, Instagram. I'm not really like that savvy when it comes to social media. That would be really cool if you could, because then we can see these things and exchange these pictures. That would be fantastic, and I think it's really motivating. And that's what I thought I'd talk about today. Whilst I was over the allotment today, I was doing my bits, and I had to carry all of this cardboard because I don't know if you guys are like this, but I'm literally like, don't throw away any jars or plastic tubs or anything like that. I will use them. I'm like carrying them down the allotment, like, oh, it's awful. Email would be another way. Yeah, you can email them to me. I have my email on my page. If you go to my home screen on my account, you can see my email and you can send it to me. I'm a little bit rubbish at checking them. I check them periodically, maybe once every couple of weeks, but 100% please go ahead and email it to me. I think it's on my about bit. I have my email on there, and I think it is that British Homestead at gmail.com, I think. Something along them lines, but double check it before you send it, and you can totally email me and I write back and everything. It's just I do it periodically because obviously life gets in the way, especially when I'm at work, and then it's like, oh, I'm super busy then. But I do periodically. Yeah, you make one. Make one. You could always make one. If I can do it, anyone can, honestly. How long have I had the channel now? Like 3 years. And I genuinely didn't expect anyone to watch anything that I ever did, like ever. I kind of just did it because I love talking about vegetables and I love talking to people. And also, most importantly, I'm like the sort of person that never writes anything down. So I need something to be like a record of what I'm doing. So I basically have these videos, and when I'm thinking like, ooh, did I sow them carrots? Was it 3 or 4 weeks ago? I look at the video and I'm like, oh, it was 3 weeks ago, because I pretty much do the video like the week that I post it, if not a couple of days before. So it's a really good way of me being like, okay. Or what I've been doing quite recently is that I've used my channel to look back at last year, being like, oh my goodness, this year's really slow. Let's have a look. When did I plant those seedlings? And then I go and have a look. So it makes it a lot easier to like keep records of things if you're not as organized as you should be, which which I definitely am. I'm terrible with organization, but this makes it so much easier to like have a record of what I'm meant to be doing, if you get what I mean. But yeah, if I can do it, anyone can. So yeah. Um, this year, I have to say, has been a little bit slow. I think it's got a lot cooler now. So at least my lettuce isn't bolting. I've just picked a lettuce today, which is great because all my other lettuces are like 60 foot tall. And I've had to like cut them out. But there are some more lettuces as well that you can sow this time of year. So I'm going to probably go and do that in the near future. I feel like I've got so much to do and I'm so behind in every way, which I probably am not, but it does feel like it. Whoa, that was really bright. So yeah, I'm just need to see what happens really and not rush too far into the future. I feel like I'm always feeling like left behind with everything because I'm constantly looking at the future thinking, oh my goodness, I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to be doing this, etc. And sometimes I just need to like chillax a little bit, which would be the optimate thing, wouldn't it? But yeah, it's been a lot of work down the allotment. I feel like I've got tons to do. I did have a load of bees living at my allotment. I don't know if they're still there. The last time I went down there, I had to sort that out and talk to the committee about it and like get some sort of strategy plan in place to get the kind of bees off the allotment, which is ironic because I phoned the beekeeping society and I'm like, oh, there's bees on my allotment. Even though I wanted to have bees, I don't want these bees. And see if they would come and collect them, which would be great. I was thinking today how nice it would be because I go down there to get the eggs, I go down there to get vegetables. But can you imagine leaving with like pots of honey as well? I know it doesn't quite work like that. You actually need to like take the comb home, open the comb, spin the comb, and then get the honey out of it. Obviously, that's like a whole thing. But it would be super cool, wouldn't it? My granddad has bees, and I get like 3 or 4 pots from him a year because they sell it and things like that, and I could eat as much as humanly possible, but we end up eating a lot of honey, so that would be really, really nice if I could make my own honey. That would be really cool. And then I've got the ducks, the chickens, and all of that sort of stuff going on as well. We've just moved our little chicks that used to be this big. They're actually like this big now. We've just moved them from inside our garage where we had them in an inside brooder, which are like really climate controlled. And now I've stuck them. I've been brutal. I haven't really. I've put them in the outside brooder, which has lights and stuff like that to keep them warm. But it does mean that they're like more in the environment. They have bigger space and they're loving it. And not tomorrow because I need like time to chillax and appreciate that. As of the day after tomorrow, I'm going to be putting them out. As long as good weather, I will be putting them out in the grass in like a little caged area so that they can go and forage and eat bugs and be chickens in the real world. So they can build up their immune systems and etc. I will be putting them in a little caged area though, because we do have a kite around here, which is a type of bird that's like it's a bird of prey. So I'm going to put them into a small like caged area so that the kite can't come and eat them because that'd just be horrible. We sometimes see it around, but it doesn't really affect my ducks because they're just so big and they won't be affected by it. Yeah, with the fertilizer, honestly, it makes it so good. My grass, before I had my ducks, my grass was like a horrible grey colour. This year, and every year since I've had the ducks, it's become much more green and luscious because of the fact that they walk around and they poo and they get loads of water all over everything. So I think that that does seriously help with the grass situation, but I have too much grass to bird ratio. I say to chicken, but duck ratio. I keep saying to my partner, how nice would it be to get like a goat or something? And he's very anti animals. So like not anti animals, it's kind of wrong. But he's like, I don't want chickens, and we have chickens. I don't want ducks. I'm like, oh, we have ducks now. So he's like, I really don't want goats. We'll see what happens. But wouldn't it be I keep saying to him, wouldn't you like something so you don't have to, mow the lawn? He doesn't think that. He's actually just come in. We'd like goats, wouldn't we? What did I say? I think we would. Maybe one day. Hey, babe. Maybe one day. But yeah, I think I'm at the point where the grass grows really well, and we do have to cut it quite a few times. Sweet corn's growing really well as well. I can see the sweet corn from here, and it's starting to like head or ear. You know what I mean? Like where you can feel it through it, and it's getting really squishy and yummy. I'm really excited about, canning some of that because I've never canned sweet corn, but, like, in my head, it makes sense because then I can have, like, a, like, jar of sweet corn that I can just chuck into, like, everything. We try to put as much vegetables and things into our food as humanly possible, because obviously it's really, really good at you know what I mean? If I could, I would have goats. Yes, me too. I think they're so cute. We actually went to the zoo for my daughter's birthday, and there was a goat there, and it was so pregnant. And so I'm like, weird. I go into there and I'm like, put my hand on the side of the goat, and you can feel the goat kick in, the baby goat kick in. And I just thought that was amazing. And I said to my partner, I was like, you've got to feel this. I've like put his hand on there, and he's just like, cool. But yeah, I was trying to get my daughter to do it as well, but she's like already like hands on, face on, like, wow, mummy, this is amazing. But could you imagine having something like that inside your home? My daughter's seen like chicks hatch, obviously, but watching like the miracle of birth would be amazing in your own garden. But obviously it's housing the animals and stuff like that, make sure they're safe. We only have foxes here. We don't have like lions and tigers and bears. That's my duck alarm. Um, and that means that obviously the baby's a little bit susceptible to the old goats. Remember that feeling when you were pregnant? Yes, that's what it reminded me of. That sort of feeling where when you're very, very pregnant and the baby's moving around, and it's lovely, isn't it? In the third, like as you get later on in pregnancy, it can be like quite uncomfortable, but this when you're just getting that, it's so lovely when they're not punching you in the bladder and you're like waiting for the loo, like, oh no. But it is a magical, absolutely magical feeling. And yeah, I just thought that was really cool. And you could see the baby moving and that. It was like one of those experiences that will probably stay with me, from having seeing some goats, but they are really, really cool creatures. We're gonna be going to the farm soon as well. My daughter loves vegetables, loves animals, so we do spend quite a lot of time going to farms and zoos and things like that. She absolutely loves things like that. So we're going to go, and hopefully there'll be more pregnant animals and cows and stuff that she can get like hands-on experience with, because I think that's really awesome. I think kids should be around animals. We obviously have a dog, Bailey, which is a little bit different. When he was a puppy, he was obviously tiny and cute and adorable, and now he's like virtually the size of a horse. So, but yeah, he's not going to have any babies because we actually got him castrated. So it makes him more it makes him more manageable being such a big boy, and it's healthier for them. Our last dog had testicular cancer, so it's not something we want to worry about in the future because it was heartbreaking. So yeah, it's one of those things. But we did have like a serious think about having puppies and things like that. But I feel like it was just not the right time in the season of our life, really. But yeah, baby animals are like absolutely amazing to have. And it'll be really cool to have the chickens out eating some of the grass so we don't have to mow the lawn so much, which would be great. And I really like I like ducks, don't get me wrong. Ducks are really fun to have, and I really like watching them. I prefer duck manure, because it's cold composting. I like the fact that ducks produce a lot of water that can go on your plants and stuff like that. But chickens, oh my goodness. With chickens, you can like throw anything in there and they just eat anything. So it's like you put anything in there and they turn it into eggs. It's incredible to me. Like my tiny little chickens, which are baby chickens, I put a melon in there. A melon that like the seeds and like half a melon that I just didn't get around to eating. And I put it in there and oh my goodness, it was like gone. I put a old sweet potato squash that was like on the turn, put that in there. An hour later, no trace of it. And I just found that amazing. I love watching them go to work on vegetables and stuff like that. I've actually got some cucumbers and things to go and give them, and they're just like that, boom, gone. And there's like no trace of them. And I find it incredible. Whereas ducks can't do that as much because they actually don't have the hook bill to their beaks. They're flat, obviously bills, not beaks. So they really struggle with things like that. They're good at eating grass and grubs and anything that they feel to feed. So they're better for like free ranging. But chickens, oh, I tell you, it's probably one of my favorite things to do is put things in there and be like, how long does it take to disappear? So especially when they're so tiny, and I give them lots of, like, squash seeds because squash seeds are natural dewormer for chickens and poultry in general, so I try to give them it, like, once a month, if I can, so it really helps to, like, make sure that they are completely, utterly, like, worm-free and things like that, and their best prime health that they can be. Because I think it's really important for them so that they don't get sick, etc. Um, without chemicals and things like that. Sometimes I do give them a wormer about once a month, but mostly we rely on the squash seeds to do their job, and they do work quite effectively, which is quite impressive, really, if you think about it, because it's just a few handful of squash seeds every so often. But like I said, they do really enjoy it. The ducks, not so much. The ducks are kind of like, "Mm, don't really want that." And then you're like, you do have to have it. And if they get nothing else, they will eat it. But if I put like grapes and that in there for them, they'd eat the grapes. You do have to kind of chop up the grapes a little bit so that they don't have an issue. But yeah, they would rather have that. They're a little bit more fussy than chickens. Chickens will just go ahead and eat whatever you give them. They're grateful eaters, but the ducks are more like children. Children have that sort of innate ability to like not eat anything you give them, even if they ate it yesterday and said it was their favorite. Or is that just my child? um but yeah, it does mean that, it is a way of getting rid of things that you aren't eating at home, which I really like. I like making sure that everything gets its little home. The ones at the allotment I am using as like a composter. So instead of putting my vegetable scraps in the compost, I'm giving it to my chickens. The chickens are kind of like composting it themselves, and then I am using it in the garden in like 1 year. So when my vegetable stuff will like go down, I mean, I can't believe I'm already getting raspberries. Once my raspberries have gone down, I'm going to cut them to the base, and then I'm going to go ahead and fill the bed with chicken manure from that run. Saves me bringing a load of horse manure over as well, and then I'm going to wood chip over top of it, which would be great. But it does mean that I'm going to like have a really vibrant and helpful lot of growth next year, which will be really good. I'm hoping that my year this year will be as good as next year. It's been absolutely fantastic. And I have really got on top of that bindweed. At the moment, I went over there today and there's only a little bit of bindweed, and I will be like ferreting my way through and picking out most of the bindweed. If I can find it, I'm going to pull it out. So next year it should be even better. The frustrating thing is even if you do deep mulch method, the bindweed finds a way, which is really frustrating because obviously we don't want to have the bindweed at all. But it is one of the things, it is what it is, it is what it is. I wonder if it's because of the lack of bindweed that they've done so well, or if it's just the sort of weather. I have noticed that the um wild blackberries and things like that have been doing really well. I kind of keep my eye on things like that as I'm walking the dog, and it's doing really, really well. And there seems to be tons of blackberry, sorry. And I'm going to probably go over there with my daughter and come and do a load of wild harvesting, which will be super exciting. My 7-year-old granddaughter walks around with something like, and she doesn't like to eat, in a lump on her cheek. Like a squirrel. I love that. And then finally, I tell her to swallow it. Yes, I think all children are the same, aren't they? My daughter, one day, so it's like carrots. She loves carrots. Okay, she'll eat them all day, but if you put them on her dinner plate at night, she'll be like, "I don't like carrots." You've been eating them all day. She eats tons of them, but yeah, they do, don't they? And they're very changey of what they actually like to have. Mine's 9 now. Um, Yeah, 9 seems to be quite a mature age, I keep being told. I'm very mature now, mummy. So, it is a very nice age, it seems. Um, she's very helpful, bless her, and she really does, like, amazing stuff and does really, really well, helping us around the allotment and around the house and things like that, bless her. But yeah, I want to take her out to do some foraging. There is a plum tree near us, like golden plums, and there are loads of blackberries. Yeah, blackberries. I keep saying the wrong thing. Blackberries, apples, and what was the last one? Oh yes, slowberries. Slowberries you kind of mix with gin and you make slowberry gin. So I want to grab a load of those because we kind of give that away for Christmas presents, and had that all as um, drinks and things like that, and jams and etc. If we can get the blackberries, that would be really cool because blackberries are like one of our absolute favorite things to eat, especially when it comes to jams. I think they're really yummy. We do have to strain out all of the seeds because my family just don't like the blackberry seeds at all. Um, but apart from that, they will eat it up in like what we call jam cake, which is a normal sponge cake with jam swirled through it. And we make jam cake quite a lot in the winter, sort of like basically once a week. In the summer, we eat less sweets. We kind of eat more fruit, which is way better for you. But it'll be nice to have jam cake back then, and also fruit roll ups, which I'm going to try to make again this year. Hopefully, it will work out, and we'll be able to have that as a lovely treat in the winter months as well, because the in the winter we don't have that many fruits. Hopefully when our apple trees come in, we will have more fruit on the basis that like we'll have a whole apple tree, fig tree, pardon me. We will have our plum tree, etc. And I want to do tons of dried fruit. We love dried fruit here, and we eat loads of it. We eat tons and tons of raisins and what are they called, apricots, etc. So that'd be really nice if we could sort of take the fruit that we have in summer and extend that season over the winter as well. I know that apples store super well. You can just wrap them up in newspaper and stick them in a drawer, which is really exciting. But it would be really cool to have some dried fruit as well because we eat tons of it. So that would be really nice. We try to eat as seasonally as possible, which I tell you in the winter can be a little bit dull. So it would be really nice to have like our own dried fruit, just as the sort of interesting flair to it, especially the fruit roll ups, because they're my daughter's favorite. She loves those. And I haven't really made them massively effectively before because mine are still like tacky. And I would really like to have them as a like, a proper fruit roll up like you get from the shop, which would be super cool because the ones that you get from the shop are obviously full of tons of sugar and you could just do them without any sugar, which is really exciting. I was like the mum in me is saying. We're also planning to do a load of wine, probably rhubarb wine, on the basis that with tons of rhubarb this year, it's been a really good fruit year. Like in general, the year of 2023 has been a massive fruit year. And hopefully we can put a load of fruit away and have that stored up so that if next year is not such a good fruit year, because like I don't know, the tomatoes hopefully will absolutely go through the roof, then that would be really good to have that in addition to all of the stuff we've saved this year. And as I'm getting more and more into gardening, or more and more time goes through with my gardening, I do see the benefits of like grabbing something when you get a glut. So I sometimes worry about getting a glut and thinking, oh my goodness, what am I going to do with all of these beans or whatever. But now I know that I'm going to just can them and dry them, etc. Because like this year, tomato season, I'm hoping to get enough to make a few cans of tomato sauce, but I'm not going to like freak out if I don't. It's not the end of the world. But for example, my fruits, oh my good days, I reckon I'm getting more fruit now than I have in a long time, which is fantastic because we're pretty much out of jam. So I will be making sure that I have all of those as jams. Bailey crying because he's begging for food. Um, to make sure that I have them so that when I need them over the winter or whatever, they will be there for maybe a year or two. Bailey, he wants you to know he's here. So I'm not going to any longer worry too much about that. And it's about working really hard for like tomorrow gardening. So it is a little bit difficult, especially when you like in the summer, you're working in the heat and it's boiling and it's stressful, it's long days, etc. But like in the winter, it's cold and it's rainy and it's miserable, etc. Baby, you might need to feed him. Um, but you know, it is how it is, isn't it? And every single season has its own issues and um own issues and own problems within that season. So it just all depends, doesn't it? Oh, how the season's going to go. So if it has next year going to be a warmer season, it would be even better, and we'll be able to store a lot of stuff that we weren't able to this year. I will keep watching, but I'm doing the dishes, so I won't comment for a bit. That's awesome. Love the multitasking. Oh, Bailey. So, yeah. I forgot what I was saying now. Yes, I was talking about gluts, wasn't I? I'm really hoping I do well with the sweet corn this year. I've actually decided that next year I'm probably going to do double the amount of sweet corn, fingers crossed, that I have this year. Sweet corn looks good. I have to say, there's absolutely no I haven't. The proof is in the pudding, isn't it? But it would be nice if I get all of my 36 ears, which would be amazing, wouldn't it? Apparently, that's enough for 3 people for 1 year. Who knows though? Um, and I'm going to see how that works out. I really want to have these beautiful glass jars full of sweet corn. My onions have done really well this year. I feel like I'm really rich when it comes to onions. I've just harvested another like most of a bed of onions because I'm waiting for them to, flop over before I go ahead and pick them out. I've got some from seed and they've done really well, which is awesome. Um, and I've got some tomatoes, which are much less than I normally do, but I'm not looking at it as a negative way. I'm looking at it like, oh, at least I have some. I also planted green beans. I love green beans, lettuce, cabbage, one cabbage only, limited space. Yes, I know what you mean. I love cabbage though. I think it's an awesome harvest to have. Hello, how are you? Nice to see you again. Um, I've really enjoyed my cabbages this year. I feel that they have been a really good harvest. I've actually got 3 cabbages just chillaxing on the side at the moment, um, because they're coming in thick and fast, and hopefully they'll be able to store a little longer in the garden in the garage down the bottom of the garden, which would be really cool if they were able to because they're meant to store really well just on the side. I'm very pro anything that stores so easily. Like winter squash stores so easily, which is a little bit of an issue on the basis that like I like winter squash, don't get me wrong. My family absolutely hate squash, but I'm like, but it stores so well and it grows so well. We have to love it. It's really good. And they're like, no, we hate it. So they always joke that I sneak squash into everything. So I was like saying to my partner about, oh, do you love my cooking? And he goes, no, you put squash into everything. And it's true, I do. It's like everything he eats has squash in it, but it's really good for you, and if you can't notice it, then I think that you should just eat it and be thankful for some food. But yeah, I do put it in everything because it's so good for you. I even made it into a powder and put the powder in everything too, so you can't run away from squashes. But, yeah, I'm hoping that this year we have as good of a harvest because, I mean, sweet, what is it called? Uh Butternut squash soup is just so easy to do and such an easy, and filling work food, so it'd be really nice to be able to have that, and I've got the sweet potato squash, which I don't know if it has done anything yet, it's so tiny still. So hopefully my sweet potato squash has done really, really well, or at least my sweet potatoes have done really, really well, because I'd be really chuffed if I had any sort form of harvest from either one of those, really. Oh, I'd be tickled pink if I had any sweet potatoes. That'd be awesome. Apparently, they store for like 2 years on the side. That would be awesome because I've got that whole kind of walk-in larder area down at the bottom of the garden. So I'm really hoping to get that filled up this year. So far, not really got that much, on there. I've got more empty jars than I do filled jars. I've put some cucumbers there, but that's about it. Nick, I put my runner beans on the table outside. My French beans when then I got up a day after my runner beans were 10 foot. Yeah, they're mental, aren't they? Up the garden side. And now my French beans didn't move. Honestly, runner beans are mental. And if you don't pull out the roots, they actually regrow the next year, which is mental. I never knew that until one year. I just cut them off at the base. And then the year after, I was like, where have these runner beans come from? I love runner beans. I really love them. My family less so because they say, but they squeak when you eat them. But I absolutely adore them. I'm going to make a conscious decision to plant runner beans next year, so that I have them because they're really prolific and they're really tasty. And I think they're just a really great source of like vitamins, especially in the summer months, because I love them. I grew up eating runner beans though, and my partner didn't. So for me, they just taste like my childhood and I love them. That's true, you can overwinter them. Yeah, who knew that though? It's amazing. I did that for 1 year and came back up and I was just like tickled pink about it. I was just like, sweet, free food because I already had the trellis up because I'm lazy and didn't take it down. And it just grew up there and produced tons and tons of food. They are absolutely prolific though. They produce tons and tons of food with very little input from you, which is like winner winner, isn't it? I like things that do that, like low maintenance crops that just produce tons. I find that squash is a bit like that. Um, and most plants, you pretty much leave them alone. I have to say, I did go ahead and put a load of what are they called? Herbs down the allotment, and pretty much all of them have been eaten by something. I did see a rabbit in my plot today, though. I went in there and a rabbit just like was looking at me and I was looking at it, and I don't know who was more scared, me or it. Um, but yeah, but I probably the rabbit was eating all my lovely herbies, which is a bit frustrating because I normally have tons of herbs, and this year not so much. It's like the typical thing every time I say it, like this year, not so much. This year, not so much. But it is a little bit of a bummer that I don't have as many as I do normally because we do like we call it like herb deal allotment, which is like whatever's ready at the time. We kind of like just crush up into a jar and have our own herbs. And hopefully we'll be able to do that again this year. But at the moment, we don't have very many more than thyme and rosemary. We've got tons of thyme and rosemary. Time for rabbit stew. Yes, most probably. I do like rabbit stew. Down the allotment, we have traps we're allowed traps, humane ones, so that is an option. But obviously you're in the US, so it's probably a bit different, but we're not allowed any firearms or anything like that down the allotment because it's a public space. I mean, we do have like, you know, but yeah, we're not allowed to bring anything down there or do any shooting. I know that back in the day, and I mean this is like 50 years ago, they did, but I don't know why they just chose not to, because we're committee led, which means that there is a group of people from the allotment that make the rules and regulations of the allotment, and I'm guessing that they decided that it was not a good idea. But yeah, lots of people do have traps and things like that down there to get minimize the rabbit population, because I'm telling you, there is like 60, 70 rabbits, which is just so many. My pumpkin plant's growing like, yeah, it's growing up on my tomato plants. Honestly, my pumpkin is doing the same. My pumpkins are ridiculous this year. They're doing so well. And the pumpkins are like this big, which is just huge. And I mean, it's only August now, so they're only going to get bigger and bigger, which is going to be awesome when, we're thinking about having Halloween, etc. It's going to be super epic having such big pumpkins. I'm in Idaho, so I can open carry. Wow! And you can imagine what that's like for a British person. I wouldn't even know what to do. One of my friends is currently she's in Yellowstone, and she said that was one of the things she was worried about when she went there. I was like, no one's going to do that to you. Don't worry about it. But yeah, that'd be mad. I don't know what I'd do if I saw someone doing that. I'd be like, it's my British upbringing where we don't ever see something like that. But I know it's like the third. Oh, what is it called? It's like their third rule, isn't it? I've never done it, but I could. Yeah, exactly. It's madness. But I'm sure that you wouldn't have any rabbits running around your garden either. So yeah. It is interesting. I always think of England and the US are so close. We're like the same country but completely different, which is just very interesting thinking of. I wish I could, and I would do the same. Awesome. Um, so yeah, pests are really pesty at the moment down the allotment. I also have a rat that I've named Ratty actually, that lives down my allotment. And to be honest, the first few times I saw him, I was like, but now when I see him, I'm like, "Hi, Ratty." He doesn't really do it. I don't think he actually affects my crops at all. He just like hangs out there. I don't know what he eats. Probably my crops. But yeah, he seems to be all right. Seems to be thriving on all of my food. Yeah, he lives in my compost bin, so it's very exciting to be able to get to the bottom of that. I'm not very good with rodents. But yeah, he seems to be doing well. Also have two robins that live down the allotment, and I really like those. And they're really sweet. They sing to me whilst I'm down there. Robins are such show offs, aren't they? So when you're down the allotment, they tend to sing really, really loud to you. And I really love that. And I think they're really, really cute. And if you keep going down there and you offer them food in your hand, pardon me, then they will actually eat out of your hand, which is really cool. One of my plot neighbour puts out their hand like this, and they will come and they'll sit on her finger and eat from her hand, which I think is really cool. They're really friendly, so that's really, really cool. We also have lots of foxes. We don't see as many foxes at the moment, which is sad because obviously we have such a bad rabbit population. So before, when I first got my allotment, you used to see the foxes all the time. Like whenever you went round there, you'd see like one or two foxes. And I'd always be like super conscious of the foxes, obviously, because when you have birds, you are super conscious of foxes and like dangers to them. But I'm telling you, like I go down there at like unsociable hours and I haven't seen one for like ages, probably like 6 months or something, which is really strange. So I'm hoping that they're all okay and they continue coming into the allotment, because obviously you do want like an ecosystem balance. You want some rabbits, but you want some foxes to keep the rabbits in populations. You see what I mean? So that everybody's nice and healthy. Maybe that's just the ecologist in me. But yeah, it is interesting. We do also have some kites and things down the allotment as well, which I just think, I love birds of prey. And whenever you're driving down the motorway in the UK, you see them over the motorway. They kind of like this. They float, they hover over the motorway, and they're looking for mice and things like that. And I just find them absolutely breathtaking. I love them. Whenever because when me and my partner together, he drives and I don't, because I'm not really that, I don't really like driving. So I'm always like looking out the window like, oh my goodness, I see another one. Didn't you look? And he's like, no, I'm driving. I'm like, this is why I don't want to drive. But when I'm driving, I'm like at the road and you don't see any of these pretty things. That's one of the things. Oh, another thing I saw today. I was walking my dog over a like massive park, and there was two pheasants, and he disturbed them because he likes going through the long grass. I know. Through the long grass, and he saw two pheasants, and they kind of flapped away, and he scared him, and he just didn't know what to do. He was just like looking at the pheasants, looking at me like, birds fly? When did this happen? Because our ducks don't fly, do they? And our chickens don't fly. So for him, he was just like, what is happening? What is going on? What happened there? And he was like honestly terrified. But then he kept going back and looking for them as well. He was just like, what happened to these strange coloured ducks? But I thought it was really cool. But obviously we called him away because you don't know if they've got a nest or anything like that. But not that Bay's going to hurt them because he's so used to birds, but I didn't want them to be stressed at all. But I thought it was really cool. So we've had like quite a wildlife heavy day today, which is beautiful. What's the matter? Right, I think that's Bailey asking for his dinner. So I'm going to go and I'll see you next time. Have a lovely day. Bye.